Zdravo, good morning. Predavanje bom imela v angleščini. Tako da upam, da boste vsi razumeli, upam, da bom potem v slovenščini tudi objavila članek. Hellenistic culture placed a high value on literary and rhetorical expression in all the literary modes and genres. In contrast to the glorification of the role of rhetoric in Greco-Roman antiquity, the Church Fathers saw the essence of biblical contents in the message of Scripture, in which is God's call of humans to the virtue of humility. The truth and divine power of Scripture are clearly shown because people responded to the message of Scripture and not its style. But in the 4th century, some Christian thinkers also began considering the literary merits of the Bible. Jerome, a lover of profound literature and a Latin Greek bilingual, with a keen sense of language and a great will to explore the mysteries of Hebrew, was one of those who best articulated the artistic use of the literary style of the biblical text and their original languages, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. Jerome was, next to Origen, the greatest biblical scholar of the early church and the greatest translator of the Bible into Latin, which was his mother tongue. In the preface to the Valdez talk, Jerome wrote, "We have some slight knowledge of Hebrew, and as regards Latin, my life, almost from the cradle, has been spent in the company of grammarians, rhetoricians, and philosophers." Jerome was the first, and even the only one, among the Latin Church Fathers, to have commented on all of the prophets and on most of the New Testament books. He translated into Latin also Eusebius' Chronicle and Onomasticon. He made Origen's commentaries into the Bible and his bilingual homilies available to Latin speakers. Nevertheless, he did not lay out in systematic fashion the rules of his terminology. His exegetical practice is normally set in the traditional framework of the two great senses of the biblical text, the literal sense and the spiritual interpretation under various aspects. The overall goal of this presentation is to describe, affirm, and assess Jerome's appreciation of the literary quality of biblical text in light of his own sources, methods, and objectives. On these grounds, we can evaluate Jerome's impact on the later development of the literary appreciation of the Bible, up to the new criticism and some of its methods, like close reading, which is still one of the fundamental tools of literary criticism in our contemporary time. The way from classical ideals to the discovery of Hebraica Veritas. When Church Fathers admitted the inferiority of the Bible in terms of literary style, they asserted the superiority of the divine truth of the Bible. Augustine, for instance, puts in his work Confessions in contrast the Bible's restraint and the magnificence of its meaning. His recognition of the greatness of revelation was brought about by his inner conversion. In his Confessions, Augustine writes, "I therefore decided to give attention to the Holy Scriptures and to find out what they were like. What I am now saying did not then enter my mind. When I gave my attention to the Scripture, it seemed to me unworthy in comparison with the dignity of Cicero. My inflated concern shunned the Bible's restraint, and my gaze never penetrated to its importance. Yet the Bible was composed in such a way that as beginners mature, its meaning grows with them." Jerome made a similar transformation in his encounter with biblical texts, in comparison with the great classical works of antiquity. In his earlier years, he preferred the refined quality of Latin literature. In his letter 22, Jerome reports his famous dream of loving classical literature too much and confesses. And so, miserable man that I was, I would fast only that I might afterwards read Cicero. After many nights spent in vigil, after floods of tears poured from my inmost heart, after the recollection of my past sins, I would once more take up prose. And when at times I returned to my right mind, I began to read the prophets. Their styles seemed truth and fulfillment. I failed to see the light with my blinded eyes, but I attributed the fault not to them, but to the sun. By reading the scripture in Hebrew, Jerome overcame his initial dislike of the Old Testament as literature. In his account about the famous dream, he admits the reproach. You are Ciceronian and not a Christian. This happened at the time of his retreat in the desert of Chalcis, which marked the climax of this internal conflict between the love of the classics and the vision he had encountered at the time of his ascetical vocation. The content of biblical writings enabled Christians to go beyond Greco-Roman conventions in their thinking about the artistic nature of Scripture. The Greco-Roman language style constituted a relatively coherent tradition from the time of Aristotle down to the early Byzantine era. But literary composition of the Greek Bible as a translation from a Semitic original were something of an alien entity in the Greek world. In contrast to his Alexandrian predecessors, quick to size in every figure and invitation to rise to the spiritual sense, and even more clearly than his Antiochian contemporaries, he brings in as a grammarian everything that has to do with the figurative sense, or is related to it, figures and tropes, but also anthropomorphisms, which lend both physical traits or human feelings, Scripture's habits of expression, even distinction of literary styles and genres. As Pierre J. argues, Jerome's exegetical practice reflects his holistic and intertextual approach to the biblical text. He follows the principle adopted already by Origen that the Bible explains the Bible. This position tests on a phenomenon of association between a term of the commented text with other passages of Scripture containing the same word or any other grammatical or literary component. The importance which he accords to the literal sense, an obligatory foundation of any spiritual interpretation, leads him to more than one line of interpretation and to a marked preference for figurative exegesis. He was an exceptional mediator in the service of Scripture between the heritage of ancient culture and the newness of Christian experience, between Jewish traditions and the Church tradition, between the Greek East and the Latin West. In his life, Jerome developed his literary sensibilities through formal education. His holistic exegetical approach was by nature in opposition to merely abstract reflection or speculation. In his letter 125, he reports on his beginnings of learning Hebrew and his turbulent youth before his conversion. To subdue its turbulence, I betook myself to a brother who before his conversion had been a Jew, and asked him to teach me Hebrew. Thus, after having familiarized myself with the pointedness of Quintilian, the fluency of Cicero, the seriousness of Plutarch, and the gentleness of Pliny, I began to learn and to study to pronounce words both harsh and guttural. What labor I spent upon this task, what difficulties I went through, how often I despaired, how often I gave over, and then in my eagerness to learn commenced again, can be attested both by myself, the subject of this misery, and by those who then lived in me. But I thank the Lord that from this seed of learning, sown in bitterness, I now pull sweet fruits. Michael Graves states, part of the grammatical model of scholarship in late antiquity is the aesthetic appreciation of the text. And although his primary interest in the biblical text was its moral or theological teaching, Jerome also read Scripture with an eye towards its beauty, especially but not only with regard to Hebrew matters. In the Old Testament, Jerome found both well-constructed content and delightful language. To show the artistic quality of the Old Testament in Hebrew, Jerome refers to Greek literary terms and figures such as personification, hyperbole, synecdoche, metaphor. He was clearly aware of the Hebrew language's rich capacity. Jerome took seriously into consideration the nature of the text in prose and in poetic forms, which he compares with Greek and Latin poetry. In the preface to the book of Job, he writes, It seems incredible to anyone that the Hebrews really have letters, and that, whether we consider the Psalter or the Lamentations of Jeremiah, or almost all the songs of Scripture, they bear a resemblance to our Flaccus, and the Greek Pindar, and Alcos, and Sappho. Let him read Philo, Josephus, Origen, Eusebius of Caesarea, and he is the head of their testimony. He will find that I speak the truth. Matthew Krauss deals with Jerome's Vulgate as a work of late antique Latin literature. He states that in his translation work, Jerome pays attention to grammatical and linguistic clarification, to interpretation of history, to the style and to poetic language, as well as to the explanation of difficult words proceed with paraphrase of word etymology. In his biblical commentaries, Jerome displayed even more than in his Bible translation his wide capacity in dealing with languages and literatures. Michael Graves offers a highly lucid explication of Jerome's understanding of the terms lectio, reading aloud, narratio, explanation, emendatio, textual criticism, and judicium, textual judgment. He states, each of these components impacted Jerome's Hebrew philology in some way. For example, from the practice of lectio, Jerome learned to pay attention not only to the sounds of words, but also to the intended tone of statements, and to the relationship between the pauses read in the text and the division of sentences into clauses. Jerome's training in emendatio taught him to solve exegetical difficulties by recourse to textual criticism, with the Hebrew text of his day as the standard of truth. Jerome made the most extensive use of practices associated with enunciatio, the explanation of difficult words, the elucidation of the subject matter of the text by providing background information, rhetorical and grammatical analysis, and exposition of the sense through paraphrase. Gray believes that through his training in judicium, literary judgment, Jerome developed a keen sense for good style, but states, because of Jerome's overall focus on the message of the text, his appropriation of the classical grammatical tradition was tilted towards exegesis. The extensive horizon Jerome assembled during his gradual periods shows the terms like literal can be applied to him in a very broad sense. Grace writes that by literal Jerome does not mean simply the sense based on the words, since the spiritual meaning may also be linguistically derived. Instead, Jerome seems to conceive of the meaning of literal as being that sense which accords both with the wording of the passage and with the context of the book as a whole. Grace complements with the statements. When interpreting the biblical text ad literam, Jerome provides whatever linguistic, contextual, or historical information necessary to be able to express the sense of the passage through paraphrase. Conclusion. The argument for content rather than form, as it was expressed by Jerome and some other early Christian writers, may be the reason behind the fact the literary artistry of many biblical books was concealed for extensive periods of time. In the modern age, with our detailed knowledge of the ancient Near Eastern literature, we are informed regarding the common literary artistic conventions that shaped the Old Testament. Jerome's broad interest in literary studies, encompassing everything from text and grammar to interpretation and criticism, implies his broadest possible understanding of literal meaning of biblical texts, which accords both with the wording of the text and with the context within a book as a whole. The remarkable coherence of Jerome's philological method makes him unique among early Christian interpreters and the most like modern scholarship. In the middle of the 20th century, new prizes for discussion and debate were provided by the proponents of the new criticism who called for a unified sensibility, which combines intellect and feeling. As Vedic states, the aesthetic state of mind can be induced only by the harmony and unity of a work of art. The idea of the coherence, completeness, and even organicity of a work of art is as old as Aristotle. Perception of interplay of linguistic, contextual, or historical information in the context of the book as a whole makes us sensitive to literary qualities of biblical text in their literal and spiritual senses. A close textual analysis takes us beyond linguistic and literary questions, beyond the aesthetic experience of rhetorical and literary persuasion, to holistic religious experience and to reconstitution of the original coherence of human existence. Thank you very much.